Good morning. I am sitting down getting snuggly for this one because if you can see outside, it's quite snowy outside. We've had a storm this last couple days. Friday, it was like the worst whiteouts I've driven in a long, long time. So let's see if I can hold the camera steady here. Today I'm drinking tea still, but it's not warm. Every time I make my warm tea, I can't drink it because it's so hot on the thing. So today I'm drinking kombucha, which is a probiotic fermented tea, so it's still tea. And I'm going to talk about connecting with the body. So my story with this starts when I went to therapy. And I remember the first time I went and how I was very guarded. I had a lot of walls up, and I went to therapy because of an accumulation of events that had occurred in my present life. And I thought that it was just too much. I had like a couple deaths in the family, and I was moving all across the Eastern Coast, and I just thought that so much had come up in my life that it was just like I put too much on my shoulders. So I go into therapy and start talking about all these things. And it didn't take too long before my therapist started talking about my childhood. And what happened for me is I didn't have a lot of memories of my childhood. There were certain things that I remembered, but a lot of stuff I just couldn't access. This happens a lot, and I think, I believe that those memories weren't really there. And what had occurred was probably a couple months into my therapy, I was able to access a ton had opened up for me, and I was able to access a lot of stuff that happened in my childhood. So what happens is when we're young, we develop wounds, and these can be from different events that occurred in our lives, and they don't have to be super traumatic. I think people tend to think that, in order to have like trauma in your life, I would put quotes up if I wasn't holding the phone with two hands right now, but in order to have trauma in your life, it has to be, significant, like you were abused or raped or whatever, and it doesn't have to be like that. You could have been told, no, you weren't allowed to have something, and then develop this worthiness wound, like you're not worthy to have things. So I ended up being able to just pour out all these memories, like a couple months into my sessions. And that's what started opening up communicating with the body for me. And so much so I started therapy 7 years ago now. And I still go because it's just a safe space for me, and I have a really great relationship with my therapist, and it's a great place for me to just talk about me and not feel selfish about it. That's where I learned that it's not selfish to talk about these things, and we just have a great relationship, so I cherish that, and I still go every couple of weeks. So there are 3 different ways that our body tries to communicate with us, physically, emotionally, and intuitively. And most people tend to really only be able to access like the physical part of it. Our mind can recognize when we're feeling things physically, so it's the easiest for us to recognize. Emotional pain, a lot of times people are so used to suppressing it because a lot of times as kids we're taught, that emotional pain is bad, or you have to be stronger than that, or don't cry, or, the parent goes and picks up the child right away and eases their crying. we just learn and we're conditioned at a very young age that feeling emotion is not okay. And I'm not saying every parent is like this. Certainly, no, there are exceptions. But generally, I would say for a lot of people in the world, they don't have access to feeling their emotion. And the highest level of sensing communication from your body is through your intuition. And really, your intuition is that what a lot of people would call your gut feeling. And when I learned to start trusting my intuition, it was really about, when I thought about it, like all those times, honestly, like what comes to mind is dating. When I would date someone and I would know right away, like this, or there would be red flags. Something would trigger and I'd be like, I don't think this is the guy for me. Like this isn't right. And then what would happen is I would end up like convincing myself, I think you're being too hard on him. Like give him a chance, blah, blah, blah. And then what would happen is full circle. Months later, he would cheat on me, or months later he would up and leave, or whatever stupid thing happened to end the relationship. And I look back like, I should have trusted myself. So in order to heal, we have to feel. So feeling what's communicated by our body is so important, and having that connection with our body is crucial to being able to heal and move forward. And I remember like the first time when I started feeling, so I didn't feel anxiety in my body at all until I went to therapy. And I remember when my therapist taught me, she would just ask me, like when we would talk about things, she'd say, well, what are you feeling in your body? And for me, I feel anxiety in my chest. So those times when I felt it, I would say I feel anxiety in my chest. And she would say to me, okay, you have to allow it to feel. So what happens is a lot of times when people feel anxiety, they just suppress it because it's scary, it's uncomfortable, we don't like the way it feels, so we have to make it go away. And what that results in is us not being able to heal that pain. So that emotion is coming up because it wants to move through our bodies. It wants to feel. So what I would do, what helped me is she would say, just, say that you're experiencing it and allow it. So for a long time, it was hard for me to just let it ride. And so I would just say to her, I'm feeling anxiety. And when we would just continue to talk about things, like I still do it today, I feel anxiety right now, I would say. And that helped, like when I could just call it out, it helped for it to lose power over me. Like it didn't feel like not that it wasn't uncomfortable, but it didn't feel like it had a hold on me anymore. So that's something that's really helped me. And I'm not on any anxiety medication. I wouldn't say that I have, severe anxiety. When I first went to therapy, I had generalized anxiety, and I was able to heal it through therapy. So when you're able to allow it flow through your body, it heals you. And it doesn't ever go away, right? Like when we go through healing, we don't just get rid of all the things that ever triggered us or wounded us. What happens is we change our capacity to be able to deal with it when it comes up again. So when you have a wound that occurred in childhood, if somebody, made fun of you for being fat or whatever, and something similar, like somebody says, oh, are you sure you want to wear those jeans today? And it triggers you, being bullied for being the fat kid or something. Like that will always be there. But you change your relationship to how you're able to deal with it. So a couple more things I want to say. When someone is speaking to you and you have like an aha moment and you're like, wow, like that really resonates with me. I want you to know that that is spirit awakening inside of you. So when that happens, like that's your spirit saying, wow, like you're awakening that piece of spirit inside of you. And when that happens, it's only able to grow from there. So it's really exciting when you have those sort of moments, because you know that you're healing and that there's more light inside of you. And then the last thing I want to say is just to bring up my coaching program again. So what happened for me was I was in therapy, and I kept like for probably like, I don't know, a couple years, I feel like I kept saying to my therapist, like, I want to get to the next level. Like, what's next? Like, I want to move. I still want to, move forward and push more in this, And one of the things that I was still struggling with was emotional eating. So I went on the podcast. I have a podcast app on my iPhone, and I searched emotional eating. And one of the first podcasts that came up sounded really interesting to me, so I played it. And I found Samantha Skelly was being interviewed by this French woman, this French-Canadian podcast. And everything she was saying was resonating with me. She was talking about how it's not about the food, and that there are underlying issues that we mask with the food. And so when you don't deal with those underlying issues, you're putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, she says. And it's relevant for so many things, right? Whatever you use to mask your emotions, so if it's alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, shopping, whatever your vice is, it's relevant. So for me, it's food. And so I said to myself, she talked about a program that she hosted. I went on her website right away, and I saw that she offered this 6-month coaching program, and to help you heal your relationship with food. And then she also offered training to become a coach. You can become certified in her method. So when I saw the website, right away I was like, it was a hell yes for me. It was, I am going to sign up for this coaching program, and I'm going to become a coach in it afterwards. That immediate reaction was my intuition. So then what happened, it's an invitation-only program. Both of them are. So you have to be interviewed to do it. Interview with the program with Erin. She's also amazing in the program, or at the company. She's the COO. And Erin is talking to me about my history. We're having a great conversation. Then she tells me about how much it's going to cost. Right away, I'm afraid, and I was gonna back out of it. I was like, is this too much money? I've never spent this kind of money on myself. And I think she said to me, or one of us said, like, you get to choose, like, if it's worth, like, is this amount of money worth healing your relationship with food? Like, is it worth changing your life, basically? And the answer was yes. So I just did it. I pulled the trigger and I did it. And, it's interesting because fears will come up. They will come up afterwards, but that's when you know it's your mind. Your mind will always come in after your intuition and try to scare you and make it go back to the way that it's used to. The mind loves identities. So when you had that particular identity, it's going to protect it as much as possible. So that's what my mind was doing. But I just leaned into it and I said, you know what? No, I'm going to do this. I'm going to trust my instinct. I'm going to go with this. So about, I started the program in November of 2017. And in March or so last year, March or April, Samantha had said that they were opening up applications for their coaching program. And again, it was still a yes for me. So I applied for it. Again, the most money I've ever spent investing in myself on something. And I leaned into it. And I leaned into it so much that I was starting the program in June. And in May, I parted ways with my company. So I don't have a job. And here I am about to spend this, to me, astronomical amount of money investing in myself. And I don't have an income. So that was really scary. And I still leaned into it. And I trusted that this is the path I'm supposed to be on. I'll figure it out. Like, I'll go work at restaurants. I'll go get multiple jobs. I'll do whatever it takes if I get into a spot where I really need the money. So, hi, Melissa. I don't really pay attention. These little notifications are distracting sometimes, but I see you. So, I did a lot of, in that time of my life, I did a lot of root chakra balancing. And the root chakra is where you hold safety and feeling grounded in your body. And I did a lot of root chakra work at that time. And I just trusted that my life is going to take me where it's supposed to go. And this program and the society through Hungry for Happiness have been life-changing for me. And I can't say enough about it. Like, I know with 100% certainty, and so much of what we want as humans is certainty and safety. I know with so much certainty that this is my path. And this doesn't have to be my path forever. Like, I know this is my path right now. I don't even know how it's going to look. I don't know how it's going to work out or any of those things, but I trust that I'm on the right path. And we've started a few things, like as we've gotten further into the program, like we started avatar coaching, which was where we had like a fake client. We had to read their profile, and we played role playing with another coach. And then we had to host a workshop in December. And in January, we were asked to do these lives. And also, I have 4 clients that I'm coaching pro bono right now. And all of these things, I'm just leaning into my intuition. And it feels so good. It's so much less work to just lean in and trust my intuition on things. When you start communicating with your body, you get to that point where you're able to be in touch with your intuition, and you can have that easiness too. You can have that lightness and that freedom, and just not feeling like you're prisoner to your mind, because our mind goes crazy over things. So I have no idea how long this went. I said, you know what? I'm just going to talk for as long as my intuition says. They're supposed to be 10 minutes, and I have no idea how long it's been. So I'm going to sign off now, but thanks for watching.